In 2005, Jude Law was one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. He was engaged to Sienna Miller, and then, according to reports at the time, one of his own children opened a door in his own house and found him with the family nanny. Her name was Daisy Wright. She looked after his kids. Law admitted it and apologized in public. Now, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but the tabloids, and honestly most of the world, compared the two women side by side and agreed on one thing. This was a downgrade. So everybody asked the same question. Why would a man with a famous, glamorous fiancé risk all of it for the person who packed the school lunches? That question has an answer. It is just not the one you are expecting. Take the cameras away and this stops being a celebrity story. Imagine finding out that your partner did not meet a dazzling stranger in a nightclub. It was the person already inside your house. Someone who knew your children's names, your work schedule, and exactly which afternoons you would not be home. That detail matters more than it looks. Before anyone talks about attraction, something quieter has already happened. Access. So was the affair partner secretly more attractive to him? Or was she simply closer? Did she admire him more? Did the danger itself do something the relationship no longer could? Or was the affair never really about either woman? The Greeks were chewing on the same puzzle 3,000 years ago. In their stories, Zeus had Hera, queen of the gods, and still chased Io, a mortal priestess. We will come back to what he did when he got caught, because it is stranger than anything a tabloid ever printed. Because attractiveness may be the wrong scoreboard entirely. An affair partner does not need to beat the committed partner at everything. They may only need to deliver one feeling, and one feeling at the right moment can outweigh an entire relationship. Picture the scoreboard the public imagines. Primary partner, 9.2. Affair partner, 6.4. Case closed. One face beaten by another face. Now break that scoreboard and put a row of gauges in its place. Availability, novelty, admiration, secrecy, excitement, attention, risk, power, freedom from responsibility. A long-term partner gets judged as a complete human being. An affair partner can be selected for one temporary function. The spouse may offer love, history, a home, real intimacy. The affair partner may offer one thing that feels enormous in that exact week. So what happens if the spouse wins 9 categories and the cheater has become obsessed with the 10th? Psychologists Dylan Selterman, Justin Garcia, and Irene Sapelis asked 495 people, most of them young adults, to explain their own infidelity in their own words. 8 motives came back: anger or revenge, sexual desire, lack of love, neglect, low commitment, self-esteem, wanting variety, and plain situation. The party, the drink, the trip, the door that happened to be open. Most of that sample was young and reporting on themselves, so treat the 8 as recurring patterns rather than laws. Even so, look at what is missing. Nobody said they found someone better looking and calculated an upgrade. Sometimes they wanted evidence that they were still wanted. Sometimes the commitment was already thin and the affair only made it visible. So what if the other person's biggest advantage was simply being there during the cheater's weakest hour? There is a second force at work. Psychologists Arthur and Elaine Aaron described relationships in terms of self-expansion. A new partner feels electric, partly because they hand you unfamiliar experiences and a version of yourself you have not met yet. Long relationships become predictable. That predictability is usually what safety feels like, but it changes how a stranger looks. Experimental work suggests that shifting how much growth people feel inside their own relationship changes how they respond to attractive alternatives. That does not prove boredom causes cheating. It hints that an unremarkable stranger can start to look remarkable because of the doorway standing behind them. Gray morning, alarm, commute, dishes, bills. Then someone opens a bright door, and behind it there is travel and music and laughter and a whole different life. Look closely at that image. The stranger is ordinary. The doorway is what is glowing. But novelty only explains why someone different becomes tempting. It still does not explain choosing someone the world would call a downgrade. For that, we have to stop looking at the affair partner and look straight at the cheater's ego. Think about what each person has actually seen. The committed partner has seen the bad moods, the failures, the unpaid bills, the promises that quietly expired. The new person has seen the good stories, the chosen shirt, the confident version, the mystery. Your partner has read your full biography. A new admirer has only watched your trailer. James McNulty and Laura Widman followed 123 married couples across 2 long-term studies. Sexual narcissism predicted infidelity even after they accounted for how satisfied people were with their marriages and their sex lives. Entitlement, exploitation, grandiosity, and a shortage of sexual empathy all sat inside that measure. So here's the question that reframes this entire video. What if the affair partner never had to be more beautiful? What if they only had to make the cheater feel more beautiful? One person holds an ordinary mirror that shows a real face. The other holds a carnival mirror that stretches the same face into something glamorous and enormous. Guess which reflection gets chosen? Which leads to an uncomfortable idea, and it deserves to be called an idea rather than a finding. Someone who seems less intimidating, less socially powerful, easier to impress, may offer things a dazzling person cannot. More admiration, less fear of rejection, more control, fewer demands, a cleaner exit later. A stunning affair partner can threaten an ego. A deeply admiring one feeds it. Sometimes, a person does not want an equal standing beside them. They want an audience looking up. So could the apparent downgrade actually be an upgrade in control? Be careful here. No study has shown that cheaters go hunting for less attractive people on purpose. The evidence is far stronger for self-esteem, entitlement, novelty, and opportunity. Which brings us back to Zeus. In the myth, he already had everything: supreme power and marriage to Hera, goddess of marriage herself. And he still went after Io, a mortal priestess. When Hera came looking, one major version has Zeus turning Io into a white cow and standing there insisting nothing had happened. That is mythology, not history, but it works as a mirror. The figure who supposedly has everything is still ruled by appetite, entitlement, and the thrill of getting away with it. If Zeus was not shopping for a better queen, what was he shopping for? Something to want, something to win. A holiday from the rules that applied to everybody else. Aristotle had a word for the moment it all collapses: akrasia, usually translated as weakness of will. The acratic person knows what reason recommends and does the opposite because an immediate desire gets louder than a distant consequence. He separated raw impulse from the person who thinks it through and folds anyway. A folder sits on the table labeled Home, Children, Future. Next to it is a small flashing button labeled Right Now. The person knows which one matters. The button gets pressed. So what if the worst choice only looks worse after the moment has passed? Then comes the cleanup. Jean-Paul Sartre described bad faith, the self-deception people use to hide from their own freedom. Listen for it in the sentences that follow almost every affair. It just happened. We had been drinking. She stopped noticing me. This is not who I am. I deserved to feel alive again. Sartre's point is that an explanation becomes dangerous the moment it gets used to pretend no choice existed. An explanation can show how a betrayal became possible. It cannot make a betrayal unavoidable. Sometimes the cheater was never choosing between two people at all. They were choosing between two versions of themselves. At home, he is a parent, a spouse, an employee, a mortgage payer, a man with history and obligations attached to his name. Inside the affair, he becomes a stranger, someone desired, reckless, powerful, a person with no yesterday and supposedly no tomorrow. The affair partner may work as a portal, a door out of the identity waiting at home, which explains what outsiders never understand. The new person can look unremarkable from the outside, while feeling like a transformation from the inside. So are they attracted to that person, or to who they get to be around that person? And now the twist that complicates the title of this video. In 2024, Mack and Murphy, Caroline Phillips, and Candace Blake surveyed 254 people across 19 countries who had cheated. Every one of them rated their primary partner and their affair partner on separate scales. Overall desirability came out almost identical. Affair partners scored higher on physical attractiveness. Primary partners scored higher as people to raise children with. It was self-reported by people who volunteered to discuss their own affairs, so it does not describe every relationship. Read that finding again, because it breaks the premise most people arrive with. Research does not show that cheaters usually pick someone less attractive. It shows that human desirability has several dimensions, and an affair often swaps one package of traits for another. The radar chart tells it better than any sentence can. One shape is bigger overall. The other has one enormous spike. So why do people cheat with someone others consider less attractive? Because beauty may never have been the prize. The prize may have been proximity, novelty, admiration, control, revenge, secrecy, or one night of being somebody else. Attraction is not one thing. It never was. There is the kind that makes you build a life with someone, and there is the kind that only has to survive until morning. Different scales entirely, and people mix them up constantly. The affair does not prove you were less beautiful, less exciting, or worth less. That choice says far more about the cheater's boundaries, insecurities, and rationalizations than it does about anybody's face. When the public lined up Sienna Miller against the nanny, it stared at two faces. Everything that actually decided the outcome was sitting outside the photograph: access, opportunity, ego, secrecy, and a choice. Which brings us back to the door. The most dangerous rival is rarely the most attractive person in the room. It is the ordinary person who keeps being there when someone wants to feel extraordinary.